section of the public, and I'm narrowing it to Mr. Senate President versus a senator, which is not so, because our guiding rules, which is our testament and our catechism, our own Bible and our own Quran, which we all subscribe to religiously, embodies and epitomizes the whole Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Any action against it is an action against the Senate. It's not an action against the Senate President. Mr. President, sir, we were told when we were growing up as toddlers that where there is no law, there's no sin. But we have laws. Then it means that any contravention of that law is a sin. And where there is sin, there must be penalty.
I am at the back seat, but I can lend my voice. In fact, Mr. Senate President, the former Senate President, very distinguished Senator Ahmed Lawal, is at the very back seat after my own. Look at my own seat. Look at his own seat. And he's not complaining. He will raise up his hand with respect here, and will still go there to bow for his respect, because he's a man of integrity. So why can somebody say, can anybody be at the back seat more than him here? I am not against Natasha. I'm not for anybody. I'm just saying that the Senate is an institution, and that institution needs to have at its dashboard integrity as number one.
Simi Ulabalu about one of our colleagues, Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan, being asked to move to another seat. It's nothing that has to do with gender. It's nothing that has to do with hatred. It's nothing that has to do with any form of malice. For the record, let me say again, distinguished Senator Adamu Alero, who had been governor for 8 years, who had been honorable minister, and who is one of the most ranking senators in this Senate today, was asked to move his seat. And he didn't make any issue out of it. We had a reason to change the seat of His Excellency Distinguished Senator Aminu Waziri Tambuwa. He didn't make any issue out of it. And the part of the reason that necessitated our recent decision to change seat was because at least 3 people, 3 distinguished colleagues, had moved from the minority aisle to the majority aisle. First was distinguished Senator Ifeanyi Uba of blessed memory. And then Senator Ezenwa Francis Oyewuchi moved. And then lately, distinguished Senator Ned Nwoko moved. All of this necessitated a change in our sitting arrangement because we needed to readjust. And it is important that rather than all sitting here to debate this issue, that we just allow this matter, most respectfully, to be referred to our committee on ethics, privileges, and public petitions.
We see you as first one among equals, but the presiding officer of the Senate, and therefore the father of the Senate. In spite of some provocations, in spite of some offenses, Mr. President, we ask you to tolerate some of our actions that are not in tandem with democratic and parliamentary practices. These things once in a while will occur, but please, we want to ask that while we are referring this matter to a relevant committee, let us ponder on the drama that unfolded on that day and see how we can mitigate against the possible consequences on the integrity and the image of this institution so that we can move forward in the interest of this country.
The issue came up here. Our distinguished sister was not even speaking from her seat. And that was when we tried to call her to order. I think part of the problem is when people come from courts, court-declared senators, they miss the orientation. The management of the National Assembly is hereby ordered to organize periodic orientation, particularly for senators who are midstreamers, who came midstream and did not start when their colleagues started. Because I remember that this particular senator, on the day she was sworn in, raised her hand to speak. I was scared, but I had to recognize her because I was saying, you just gave her the rule book. Part of what we give to you when you are sworn in is a standing order of the Senate. So I said, has she even opened the rule book to know what she's going to say? But she made a contribution on that day. I think 2 days later, she brought a motion. There's nothing wrong in being vibrant, but there's a lot wrong when you don't know anything about the procedure. You can't be a Reverend Father and go and start the church service with communion. You must lay foundation. By consensus, the Senate the Senate leader has moved a motion and has been seconded. Those in support that the disorderly conduct of our colleague, distinguished Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan, we referred to the Senate Committee on Ethics and Privileges for necessary further action. Say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. So the matter is hereby referred to the Committee on Ethics and Privileges and Committee on Conduct, Code of Conduct, Ethics and of course, and Public Petitions. Ethics, Privileges, and Public Petitions, headed by distinguished Senator Neda Imaseun, to look into it and advise the Senate revert to us within 2 weeks. Leader of the Senate.
Well, Mr. President and very distinguished colleagues,